Good evening, everyone. Today we have Vinayak, and we are going to have a session on Google Summer of Code. We recently did a webinar. It's just a complete detailed video on the session which we had, and I think Vinayak can go ahead with the PPT well right now.
Thanks, Suraj, for the introduction. So, in this short video, I'll try to explain what is Google Summer of Code and try to introduce you all to Google Summer of Code. So, Google Summer of Code is one of the most reputed open source program. There are other open source program as well, such as Summer of Bitcoin, Outreachy, and many other as well. So, if you are into software development or in general computer science, chances are that you might have heard about it or even thought about being a part of it. Well, I have been part of Google Summer of Code in three different ways. The first one was in the year 2020 when I tried for GSoC but failed, as it was my first attempt and it was during my first year of engineering. The second one was in the year 2021 when I got selected to work with Python Software Foundation under the umbrella organization EOS. And the last one was in the year 2022 when I was invited back to GSoC as a mentor for Python Software Foundation. So in this video, I will try to answer all the questions that I get asked frequently by the other aspirants of GSoC, as well as try to provide all the relevant knowledge that I have gathered in the last 3 years. So moving on to the next slide. So what is GSoC? The first and foremost thing to know before getting started with GSoC is to know about what this program is and what does it represent. GSoC is not exactly a way to earn money. Well, it's a part of the program, but I would say it's rather a way to explore the open source side of software development. GSoC is an initiative of Google to connect students with open source organization. So what basically happens is the entire process is the open source organizations apply uh, for being a part of GSoC during the month of January, and they get the acceptance by March. And by March, all the projects that are going to be undertaken in that session are displayed to the students, and students submit a proposal to the organization. And upon being successfully selected, they get to work with that organization for approximately 12 weeks or 22 weeks, depending on the type of project they have opted for. Like, I would say it's one of the best way to experience open source and possibly discover a new career path. For me, I got the introduction of web development via GSoC, so I hope you all will also get to have the same experience or discover a new career path. Now, the next slide, the when do I know I'm prepared for GSoC? Now, this is honestly one of the most asked question, and I would say that there is no right way to gauge if you are ready or not for doing GSoC. It highly depends on the project you pick for GSoC and the technologies required for completing that project. In my experience, the few things slash technologies you need to know while preparing for GSoC are you need to have a good knowledge about Git or about version control system, and you also need to be familiar with GitHub, Bitbucket, or any other such version control system. I would say you can create a few projects on GitHub and maybe collaborate with your friends to get experience of how GitHub works. You need to have the basic knowledge of how to open an issue, how to create a pull request, and basically be able to proficiently work on GitHub. The second one is have good communication skills. You need to be able to effectively communicate your ideas with your mentors as well as the other collaborators in the organization. It helps you to build a good impression on the mentors. So the third one being a lot of enthusiasm to learn new technologies. So the main thing to understand here is that you can never really know if you are ready or not until unless you give it a try. Let's say you found a project based on web development and you know around 40 to 50% of the tech stack the project is using. Now you can spend the remaining time from January till March until you submit your proposal in learning the remaining 50%. So for example, when I was trying to get selected for GSoC, the project that I was working on was utilizing GraphQL, semantic versioning, and a few other technologies that I was not very well aware of. So in the time from January to March, I got in touch with my mentors and utilized YouTube and other several resources in order to learn more about those technologies. And I would say it's really hard to find a project which is utilizing technologies that you already know about. Most of the, well, because uh, you can't have a complete knowledge about all the tech stack that is being used at an organization. It is highly unlikely. I would say that like most of the organizations are really supportive and they will help you in learning the missing skills. In fact, it showcases your willingness to learn new things. So I would say that's a positive thing. Lastly, don't forget to check the eligibility criteria for GSoC. As far as I remember, when I was part of GSoC as a student, they had the eligibility criteria that you need to be a university student. But last year in 2022, when I was mentor, they changed the eligibility criteria that university student can also participate, as well as professionals who are working in the field of software development can also participate in GSoC. So do check out the eligibility criteria. I'm not sure about what they are for this year. So if you are new to software development, I would suggest you to get started with Git and then try out the various different development fields such as cloud, web development, cybersecurity, any field that you feel like is the field in which you want to build your future. You should opt it and then learn the basics of it. For example, let's say you are interested in web development. You can get started by learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then move on towards the more complex technologies such as React, GraphQL, etc. But it highly depends on the type of project you want to choose for your GSoC. Now, the next point, which is also one of the toughest step in your GSoC journey, that is how to select an organization. So every year, nearly 200 plus organizations participate in Google Summer of Code. I would say that like this is definitely one of the most difficult step in your GSoC journey. But if you are clear about your interests and also clear about the projects that you want to do, this step might be the easiest one for you as well, because you won't have to spend as much time as someone who is not clear about their preferences. So selecting the perfect organization can take anywhere from around a week to a month, depends on your pace and also how clear you are about your interest. So what I have created a approach that I used while I was trying to shortlist the organization in which I'm going to apply. So let's go over that. Okay, so in this, we have three different columns. All the three different columns are representing the difficulty levels. The first being the difficult. So in this column, you will put all the organization that are working on projects that are either beyond your skill level or if they don't match your area of interest. This image is taken from my own Excel sheet that I created while I was trying to get selected for GSOC. So yours can be a bit different. Next, the medium column. In this, you will put all the organization that do have projects which slightly match up with your skill level or your interest, but you're not sure if you will be able to gain the required skills in the remaining time. Or there can be other factors as well. Maybe you checked out the communication channel for that particular organization, and maybe it's way too crowded, or you think your chances of getting selected is less, so you can put that in the medium column. The next one is easy. Now in this column you will put all the organizations that you have that have projects perfectly matching with your skills and that align with your interest. These are the organization you will be targeting for your GSoC. Also, I highly recommend going through the entire organization list of GSoC at least once. This will give you a sense of control and you will be assured that you are not missing out on a project that might have been the best match for you. Because when you don't go through the entire list, you will get a feeling that maybe there was a better project for me, or maybe I had better chance of selection at a different organization. So make sure you go through the entire list, no matter what the name of the organization is or what tech stack they're using. Just check out each and every organization. I also recommend you to check out the past program section of GSoC and see if the organization you have selected has appeared in the GSoC at least twice or thrice, because I have seen this a lot of times. Uh, students start to contribute to an org which recently was associated with GSoC. For example, let's say there's an org named XYZ and it joined GSoC in the year 2022. So now you start contributing to it, and it doesn't get selected for the next year. And I will say that it's a high chance that a new org might not appear in GSoC the next year. So just make sure that the org that you are applying for will appear in GSoC next year, and that the organization mentor and admins are applying for GSoC, because chances are they might not. So please make sure they do. Okay, so now I'll just go through the process you need to do in order to know more about the organization, because simply just browsing the entire list and going through the names won't give you much of an idea. So I'll just quickly go through the actual website of GSoC in order to represent this in a more better way than a presentation. Okay, so when you open the GSoC website, you will land up here, the main homepage. Then you need to go through this menu to the past programs section. And in this, as you can see, like we have 7 different programs listed. And I'm sure, yeah, okay, we also have the data of all the years that GSoC has been conducted for, but you don't have to check the all the years. You just, if you are just checking the for the year 2022, 2021, 2020, that's more than enough. So let's just go to 2020, and yeah, over here we also have these filters which you can use if you are 100% sure that you want to work in these areas. But still, I will again say I'm highly suggesting you that you should go through the entire list at least once. So for example, we just clicked on the first name, 52 North, and for 52 North, let's see what are the essential things that we have to look for when we open this page. So first of all, over here we have the technologies that the organization is using. Over here we have the topics on which the organization is working. Over here we have their mailing list, communication channel, email, etc. And we also have their official website. So for example, let's say you land up on this page and you see that they are using JavaScript, and you feel like you have good enough knowledge about JavaScript, so you can consider this org. But for example, it didn't have this technology, or it had, for example, let's say Rust, Scala, or different technologies that I'm not aware of. So what you can do is just skip this one because it's not a match for you, but it does have JavaScript in this one. And you can also go through these topics, but I would say they are extremely broad and will most likely not represent the projects that the organization is doing. So after concluding that they do have the technologies that I'm well aware of, I'll just simply go to their idea list. Now the idea list is basically a detailed summary of all the projects that the org is doing in that year. For example, 52 North has prepared a really well documentation of how you can choose the project, expected duration, size of the project. Uh, like all of the orgs have different way of representing their idea list. For 52 North, it's in this manner. For some other org, it might be in a completely different manner. So, for example, over here they have listed down all the projects that they are doing in they did in 2022, and chances are that some of these projects might appear in 2023 as well. So, for example, let's say over here we see all these details about the project, we see its explanation, and we feel like that yes, I can contribute to this project. So, if that's the case, you can add that org to your easy list. For example, this is my actual list that I made while preparing for GSoC in the year 2021. So over here, I have like all the orgs that I thought were not possible for me at all, and these are the medium ones, these are the easy ones. So just sort out all the organization, go from like all these 200 or 200 plus organization, and make sure you have them sorted out well. And let's return back to the slide. Okay, I have already explained these points. Okay, now connecting with the organization. Now, when you have decided that you are going to contribute to these orgs, the next step is to connect with them. The org might have a communication channel in Slack, Discord, or they might even have a mailing list, which a lot of org do. Now, the communication channel will provide you with the updates about what's going on in the organization and will allow you to interact with the other collaborators and mentors as well. Most of the organization have a code of conduct or a guide about how to collaborate. So make sure you read them properly before asking a question to the mentors, because I have seen this that like a lot of orgs have a proper procedure that you need to take before asking a question. So please make sure that you are reading all the documentations that are provided to you when you join an org. So so basically, like before you ask any question to a mentor, try to figure it out yourself. If the org does not have any getting started directions, still try to deep dive into the code, into its code base yourself, or Google whatever doubt you have. And if still you are unable to find the answer, you can contact the mentor. But when you contact the mentor, also state all the legwork and all the like groundwork you did before asking that question, because it represents that you have the willingness to actually find your answer yourself and you don't require spoon feeding. So the next point is making early contribution. Now this is uh, one of the point which makes you stand out from the other contributors. So when the best way to make yourself more familiar with the organization and its project is to actually work on their projects. You can do this by getting the project running locally in your system. And if you face any difficulty while setting up the project or you come across a possible issue, you should discuss about it in the communication channel of the organization. I still remember like the seniors at my university told me about this process that whenever you join an organization, just start by getting their projects set up locally. And usually when you set up a project, you will come across a bug in the installation process, and it's a good way to start the communication with the mentors, mentioning that bug or a possible issue that you faced while installing the project. And it like makes you look good to the mentor, which the other collaborators might not be doing. The next thing is to find issues with the tags beginner or good first or newcomer, because generally what mentors do is they create issues which have the tag good first issue, which are suitable for you, which are suitable for someone who has just started collaborating with their open source organization. Now, the proper way to solve an issue is by getting that issue assigned to yourself. Like always remember this: whenever you see an open issue, you should first of all check out all the details about that issue, and you should also see if that issue is open for you to get assigned to. Chances are that maybe someone else has already assigned that issue, and if you still work on that issue, your pull request might be ignored by the mentors. So whenever you see an issue and it's not assigned and you think you can do it, you should get it assigned to yourself and like ask a mentor to assign it to you and then start working on it. Like that's the proper way of creating a pull request. Okay. So next point, working on your proposal. Now, proposal is, I would say, one of the most critical part, because till now you were just communicating with your mentors and making pull requests, but this is the thing that you actually write and submit to your mentors and they evaluate it. So the proposal should be ambitious. You should add things beyond what the organization is expecting, but it should also be achievable. It wouldn't do if you just did something trivial, uh, and overcommitting is also not a good thing. You should not mention things that you might not be able to do during the GSoC duration, and it might lead to failure, and it might also make you fail the evaluations. So a good proposal generally has six different sections. The first one being the introduction, the second one being its synopsis, basically a summary of what all you are going to do in that project. The third one being a detailed project plan. in which you include flowcharts, diagrams, and all of those type of stuff which are visually attractive so that the mentors can easily remember. And the fourth one being the contributions you have made till date in that organization. And the fifth one being the timeline. The timeline, I would say, is one of the most critical part of the proposal because it represents all the work that you are going to do during the GSOC duration. And lastly, you should write a little bit about yourself, about your hobbies and stuff like that, and your past experiences. And uh, well, some organization might have a layout for writing proposal. You should strictly follow that layout. If an organization does not have any layout, you can follow the above mentioned layout. I'll just quickly go through the proposal that I submitted for GSOC. In the starting, I just have the headings and stuff. These are the introduction, and we have synopsis. So like basically you can check this out later on. uh, now now finally, a little bit of extra advice from me, being a mentor. The first one being the proposal does matter. A lot of students sometimes think that proposal does not carry as much weight as the prior contribution and your connections with the mentor does, but it does carry a lot of weight. It carries around like 50% of the weight. And the second one being use a proper timeline. All of your GSOC goals should be very well made up already, and you should only mention things that you will be actually be able to do. And the third one being consistency is the key, which basically means that if you start contributing to an open source project, make sure you are regularly in touch with the mentors, with the other collaborators, and you are making contributions in a consistent manner. It should not be like you did a few contributions at the start of the month and then you do some more the next month. That will not have a good impact on the mentors. The last one being, don't afraid to ask for help. For example, you are preparing a proposal and you are stuck at a point. So it's okay to ask the mentor, or if you are making a pull request and you face a blocker, it's okay to ask the mentor, but make sure that you have already done your prior homework and try to solve the bug yourself. Okay, so the last thing being like what happens if you're not chosen for GSOC. Well, like luck also plays a very important roles in these type of things. So it's totally fine if you don't get selected, and the experience that you have gained during the process is not going to go to waste because over here I have, like this is a list of all the other open source programs, uh, such as Gulf Script, Summer of Code, Outreachy, Summer of Bitcoin. Like a lot of programs are mentioned over here. You can come to this link, and there is OSPP, I think, which in which approximately 40 to 50% of the organization that come in GSOC also appear. So you can check out these programs. There are some programs in this list that I'm also not aware about. So do check it out. And if you are unable to clear GSOC, there are a lot of other ways for you to do a different open source program. So that's it for my side, guys. Thanks a lot for listening to this short introduction video to Google Summer of Code. And Suraj, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vinayak. It was a very detailed video, and I really hope people who are watching this will gain valuable knowledge from this. Uh, what I wanted to say is we are soon going to host a Q&A, which will be after 2 days, around 6th of January, around 7 p.m. So you guys can join that, and we'll have a detailed question and answer session. Most probably the session will be on the same YouTube channel, and the resources which Vinayak used right now and provided, we'll add them in the description from where you can just go and check those out. And I think yeah, we did pretty well with the detailed explanation, and I hope you gain the knowledge which you came here for. And I really thank you, Vinayak. Thank you for taking out your time and making this a possibility.
Thanks a lot for having me, Suraj.
Yeah, thank you so much.